All right, YouTube. So as I am traveling back from Miami, Florida, back up to Dublin, Georgia, I thought I'd take a couple minutes and talk about some of the common misconception people have as I travel a lot, as my wife and I travel a lot. One of the questions that they had, well, a lot of questions they had, centered around what we call road tripping. They just call driving at long distance. So I thought I'd go over some of the common misconceptions that go along with EVs and their ability to travel long distance, or as we in the EV community world call road tripping. So, number 5, EVs aren't built to road trip. Man, this is such a common misconception. And when I think about all the trips that my wife and I have been on, especially in our EQS 450 Plus that we're in right now, I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather be. This thing is so luxurious, it's so quiet. The entertainment with inside the vehicle just keeps you so entertained. This Burmeister system that's in here, oh my gosh, it is top notch. And I would genuinely argue that traveling in this Mercedes 450 Plus is better than traveling in gas, because a couple of different things. It makes us slow down, it makes us enjoy the trip, and so from there it's just an easy ride. Number 4, there aren't enough charging stations for you to road trip. Now, back in the day, I say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that might have been, I won't even say it was true, but it was not as prevalent as it is today. And even since my wife and I have been EV road tripping, it has become even better since then. For example, when we first picked up this EQS 450, we could not use the Tesla superchargers. So it relegated us to mainly Electrify America. And even though Electrify America did what it needed to do, it got us from point A to point B, there is a distinct change in the way that you plan and the way that you move now that this Tesla supercharger has been added to our capabilities. And not only that, it makes it so much cheaper. Most of the Electrify America places that we would go are anywhere from 49 to 60 cents a kilowatt, but with Tesla it's somewhere between 32 and 39 every stop that we go to. And so the biggest thing about charging stations, you just have to sit down and plan it out a little bit. And for me, it's really fun. Matter of fact, last night as we were getting ready to go to bed and I was getting ready to get some rest to travel back, I was looking at several different routes. I was looking at all the different charging stops to plan where we wanted to stop. And so for me, that's all a part of the adventure, is planning where we're going to stop, how long we have to stop, and just to see how efficient we can make it be on our stops. Number 3, EV road trips take way longer. I would have to argue that point that it takes way longer. Maybe a little longer, but not much. And here's why I say that. I remember when my wife and I drove particularly ICE vehicles. And anytime that we would stop, our stops would always be between 25 and 40 minutes. And my wife used to argue me for that. And so for a year, without telling her, for a solid year, I would time our stops.
What?
And so by the time I would get her out of the car, we pump the gas, we go inside, we get snacks, we use the restroom, and get back to our vehicle. It was anywhere from 25 to 40 minutes. Our charging stops on all the long trips that we've been on have been no more than 40 minutes. Usually they're somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. So I translate that to say this: the average individual that I've talked to, when they're traveling,
and they're not in a rush.
No. Just when they're traveling.
I mean, some people
Rush, travel, doesn't matter. When they're traveling, because it's all the same. When you're traveling long distance, you got to stop for gas. At some point, you're going to have to use the bathroom. At some point, you're going to want snacks. At some point, you're going to want lunch. And if you're eating lunch while you're on your stop, you're not stopping, getting gas, using the bathroom, and eating lunch and getting back on the road in less than 25 minutes. Even if you went to McDonald's, it ain't happening. So,
don't they have some states that are passing laws about distracted driving, eating while driving, or something like that?
That comes into play too. Yes, you do have some states that are doing that. But even, let's say that people don't pay attention to that, because I wouldn't. If I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat while I'm driving. I just run that risk. Sorry. But even driving through a drive-through, that makes it even worse. Because once you get into a drive-through, unless you're the absolute first car, you still got to wait behind people. Right. And we've had kids all of our kids have worked at McDonald's or worked in fast food. And all of our kids have told us, Mom, Dad, if you're going to eat, go through the drive-through, because that's the priority.
Well, I went through drive-through the other day through McDonald's, actually. And drive-through is the priority. But when you have people that are new, and they say, pull up, and they're telling every car, pull up, pull up, pull up. No. And then after 10 minutes, you don't see your food come out. Eventually, you have to get out your car, go in, grab your food that seems to be ready and just not coming out to you.
So, even with that, right, and you're correct, there's a lot of times you go to McDonald's or you name it, fast food restaurant, and a lot of times you go up and order something, especially, Lord forbid, if you say you want whole onions or you don't want this and you don't want that, you can almost guarantee that you're going to have to get your stuff, specially made. And sometimes people do that on purpose just because they want fresh food. They don't want something that's been sitting under the lamp for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So adding time is not a thing. It's not that much more time. And so even for me, if I was going to be traveling somewhere by myself in my gas vehicle, I'm usually going to take 15 or 20 minutes when I stop anyway. So you're talking maybe 5 minutes a stop that you're going to add. But I would also argue that the two EVs that my wife and I have, the Mercedes EQS 450 Plus and the Cadillac Lyriq V, even though that is considered a quote-unquote sports SUV crossover, both of our vehicles are extremely comfortable. That's why we bought them. They both come with massaging seats. They both come with the latest in technological advances. With the Mercedes, it pretty much drives itself. All you gotta do is just hold your hand with a little bit of pressure on the wheel. But the Lyriq V, once you get out on the interstate, it drives itself. So with those two things, the comfort in those, for me, makes up any amount of loss that you would lose in time having to stop and charge. So, number 3. Number 2, range anxiety is a constant. And, once again, if you're talking, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, I may be able to give you a little bit of that, but not so much even with that. But let me tell you, in a vehicle like this 450 Plus that we're in today, range anxiety, you ain't even got to worry about it, because this vehicle is one of the most efficient vehicles that is out there. And the Mercedes EQS technology that is put in here for managing your trip is top notch. So you don't have to guess how far you can go on a charge. You just have to manage it. And so here's the other piece about range anxiety, and the thing that I love about this Mercedes. I'll talk about it first since we're in here. This thing is so smart that it is constantly updating your vehicle and how far you can go on a charge based on your driving. So if you're around town and you're not driving very fast, then it's going to easily adjust your range. If you're on a road trip like we are today and we're making some good speed and some good time and we're flowing with the traffic, it will also, even though we also understand that you're going to lose some range by doing that, it calculates that constantly and it adjusts your range, and you can watch it. Now the thing about this Mercedes, it is really what's the word I'm looking for, cautious with your range. And so when we left our last charging stop, which was in Melbourne, Florida, it told us that we were going to arrive at our next destination that I put in with 15% state of charge. And even riding at the speeds that we're riding in right now, it has already bumped up a percent to 16%. And I'm almost willing to bet you that as long as we ride without driving, too crazy, that is probably going to jump up another percent or two. So I'm thinking that we will probably even arrive into Yulee at, I'd probably say about 18%. So right now we are sitting at 64% state of charge, and we have 211 miles, and we only have 162 miles to go. If we wanted to increase our range, it gives us the MBUX, which is the central data system, gives us a way that we can do that. We can go in and we can click one button, and it says that we can gain 6 miles of range by clicking one button. And what that will do is it will put climate restrictions on, which is basically it'll turn down the air to a comfortable level where it's not expending too much energy. It'll put us in eco driving versus comfort. Now, if I were by myself, I would be riding in eco all day long. But since I'm with my wife, she likes to ride in the comfort mode, the comfort setting. So I keep it in comfort for her. And then there's like interior functions, which I would assume that's like if I wanted to turn off the MBUX and just listen to the radio and not see all the information that the MBUX puts out. So range, not an option, not an issue. And number one, charging will ruin the trip. I think a lot of people believe that when you are EV road tripping, that when you have to stop and charge, you are spending, hours at a charging stop. And that's nowhere near the case, or it shouldn't be the case. So, and let me explain about that. So not too long ago, one of my friends and I were talking about road tripping, and not gonna mention any names, but he has a Lucid, and he was talking to he was talking to someone who had recently bought the Mercedes 450 Plus SUV, and they were going on a road trip, and they talked about stopping at a charging station and it taking them 3 hours to charge enough for them to get to where they were trying to go to finish their trip. And as soon as he said it, I knew what happened. They did not go to a supercharger or a fast charger. They went to a destination charger. And going to those destination chargers, like at hotels or some of those level 2 chargers where you're only going to get between 7 and 11 kilowatts per hour, you're only going to get about 25 to 30 miles added per hour. So, and that's exactly what happened. So as soon as he said it, I was like, she went to a level 2, didn't she? And he was like, yeah. So as long as you are going to level 3 superchargers, fast chargers, with anything over 125 kilowatts, you are not going to be spending a large amount of time at charging stations. Now, let's be 100 with y'all.
100.
Everywhere that you go or everywhere that you stop is not going to have 150, 200, 250 kilowatt chargers. There are going to be some smaller places, some rural towns in areas like that, where you're going to have 62.5 kilowatts. But even 62.5 kilowatts is considered fast charging. Anything over 50 is considered fast charging. It's just not supercharging. So again, that's where we talked about the planning, looking at what levels you need and where you can find those levels to cut the time off for you to be able to do that. When my wife and I stop, the majority of the places that we go and stop,
Buc-ee's, Pilots.
majority of the places that we go and stop will have at least 250 kilowatt charging stations. So that's all a part of the planning. And here is one bonus for you. And that bonus is the assumption that all bathrooms are created equal. Let me tell you, they are not. So that more than anything, and I can't even say more than anything, because when you stop at when you're driving an ICE vehicle, it's the same. So usually we will try to stop at places like Love's, Buc-ee's, Pilots, those types of places, Walmart, and really, to be fair to Tesla, I will say 90% of the places that Tesla has their charging network, they have partnered up with some pretty good places, and so the restrooms that they have, or the amenities that they have centered around their charging stops, are very good, except the one we stopped at today. And I can't even really say that. I really can't say that. I think the knock of the one that we stopped at just a few minutes ago, it wasn't that it wasn't pleasant. It was the fact that it was closed for cleaning when we stopped, and my wife really had to use the restroom, so that caused us to have to make an additional stop. Whereas when we go to places like Buc-ee's, Love's, some of those bigger places, even though they have to clean the restroom, there's always somebody. The restrooms are constantly being cleaned, so they never have to be shut down. So that would be the kind of difference from the big box places that we stop to the smaller places that you sometimes run into when you're either driving ICE or electric. So it could go either way.
It's like it has 20 plus stalls in Buc-ee's or Pilot. I don't know if they have 20 plus stalls, but they have more than one or two. When you stop at a restaurant or going to McDonald's, you're only going to get like 2 or 3 stalls at the most. And when everybody has to go to the restroom, they have little children with them. That creates a slowdown in you getting back into your vehicle as quick as you would like it back on the road. So again, strategic break.
So that would be our top 5 misconceptions of EV road tripping. Now back to the regularly scheduled program.